This.
Welcome to the Bleeding Burgundy Podcast, a Washington football podcast by fans for fans. With your hosts, Jesse Martin.
You want to play what? Okay. Say hello to my little friend.
John Taylor.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
And Keith Gray.
The King! Your Majesty.
And now here's your host, John Taylor.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Bleeding Burgundy Podcast. It's a Friday afternoon show, and as you can see, Keith is blowing his big fat honker because he is sick. He's even wearing his glasses, letting us all see how old he is. And, you know, for a vain son bitch like that, that's not good for him. Everybody's wearing glasses today. So cool. This is officially Old Guy Friday. We're having Friday. So,
I know that it's especially old because it's my birthday today. And
that's right.
I woke up with an extreme backache, and that's terrible.
Well, happy birthday to you. How many is it?
I'm sticking with 34.
You know, I tell you what, there's only two kinds of people on this planet that don't care, you know, that give a shit about how old they are. And it's women like my wife and, you know,
me.
Well,
No, I am now well into my 40s.
I wouldn't peg you in the 40s, though.
come on, you.
I appreciate that.
No. If I was
Listen,
being honest, listen. If I was being honest, I wouldn't peg Jesse in his 40s.
You would peg it. You would have pegged him in his 30s. That's what I question.
Yeah,
Well, you peg him when he's 52.
I mean, I'd peg Jesse anytime.
He's no idea what's going on.
Oh man, no.
So is that what's going for your birthday? You're going to get pegged?
No. But my kids are taking me out to dinner after this show, so I'm going
let's
to
hope
Texas Roadhouse.
Oh,
I've heard that if you give
That's
the waitress an extra $10, they will take you back to the pagan room.
Yes, we're going to Sizzler.
You're gonna ride the mechanical bull?
Yeah, they don't have it no more.
They don't have it no more. You know why? Because during COVID, when there was supply chain issues, they cut it up and fed it to the survivors that were stuck inside that place. Speaking of COVID, how you feeling, Keith?
I'm all right. I'll get
You're
through
lying. You're lying.
No. I mean, look, I caught this Tuesday, thanks to my kid.
Kid?
Yeah. Well, you know, like I said, it started from FedEx. We get home 2 hours later, my kid's uncontrollably puking, fever. Then my wife catches it Monday. Then I catch it Tuesday. Then Cameron catches it Wednesday. And then we're all just running around looking dumb like a bunch of zombies. But we'll get through it, man. It is what it is.
That's how it goes. You know, and of course, this directly stems from Dan Snyder, as is all things that are horrible about this football team. We're going to get into that in a second, but I'm going to go ahead and give it over to my friend Jesse Martin to say, hey, man, take over a second while I do a couple of things behind the scenes.
Sure. I want to say thanks.
I'm unprepared.
I appreciate it, Ty and Chris, on wishing me a happy birthday. And a big shout out to our friend Chris Bryant, who is Washington Commanders Fan of the Year. There is no one more deserving of that guy. He is in our chat right now.
Is he? Hey, Chris.
It's you know, seeing you on screen.
That's my daddy. He's watching me.
Daddy's
making sure I'm not going to say anything.
Every Sunday we always see Chris. He's a I mean, you can't miss him with the Hall
Shit, no, you can't miss.
And it's a pleasure to know the guy. It's a pleasure to be acquaintance with him. And Keith, you know, just keep riding those coattails, buddy, because it's going to take you places.
That's messed up, Jesse, but you're right. I am riding his coattails.
A big shout out to Chris, man. He deserves it. And I have already voted probably 30 times at the on the NFL website. So I do suggest that everybody, all Washington Commanders fans, please do the same. Let's get this man the NFL Fan of the Year.
I agree. 100%. Yeah, man. I know I goof around just for your edification there, Chris. And just for you, Keith, edification means knowledge. Keith yells at me all the time. Keith yells at me all the time.
To Google.
He yells at me all the time for saying things that are just, a little less than politically correct. He says, Chris is going to come after me and all that kind of stuff like that. But I know you won't, because you like my voice. And that gets you a long way in
That
life.
was one of the weirdest compliments.
I get it, man. I understand.
So listen, I'm gonna call Chris out because he don't listen to podcasts. He sorry, Chris, but it's the truth. But that's one of the weirdest compliments you could give someone is, "Hey, man, I really like your voice."
I don't have the song queued up. I can play the song for him, but I don't have it queued up.
And of course, I'll throw it in there, even though we talked about this on the last pod. Absolutely, 100%. Congratulations to our guy, Chris. There's a lot of deserving fans out there, and listen, he'd be the first person to tell you that. There's a lot of deserving fans for this, but we're talking about somebody over the years who just remained positive, through this team's turmoil. Kept his thoughts private and just, tried to support the players. But not only that, but, figured out a way on how to start a foundation and help others. And, I've said this a million times, but he figured out how to connect his passion for football with his passion to support, pediatric cancer in the families. And, the guy's just, he's not only a great friend, he's definitely, I don't have brothers and sisters, so I don't know what that's like. So he's the closest thing to a brother for me. And I couldn't thank him enough for,
to be honest, they're not really cracked up. They're not really all that, you got brothers and sisters.
Yeah. Well, I'm learning that between these. I'm learning that with these two kids here because it's funny how much they hate each other. But then in certain moments they'll love each other. But like I said, Chris saw the good in me and decided to bring me along for the ride, and I couldn't thank him enough. And more importantly, not just for the ride, but just for his friendship and the other Hog Farmer guys as well too. So love you, brother.
Yeah, and we're getting ready to come to the portion of the show where we're going to start talking about Dan Snyder. So make sure that your ears are plugged. You're well away from the blast impact zone, because I don't think I'll be very nice about what we have to talk about. But hey, man, that's part and parcel about being a Washington Commanders fan. You have to deal with the shitstorm that is the Dan Snyder mystique. Now, are you guys ready to talk about that shit? Excuse my language. God damn, I see Chris in here. I can't say shit.
Potty mouth. God.
I know. I'm sorry.
Look, we got Chris and Ty in the chat, so you need to watch.
John, we're watching you, buddy, because you're the worst.
I know. I am the worst.
Well, between Jesse's 42 Fs in one sentence,
True. I will say this. This will start us off just right, because I think that after, no matter what, this is what we all want to see happen with Dan Snyder. Right. I think that we would all love to see somebody just drop kick his ass right on out of whatever Mexican ring that was. So this week, I don't give a shit about whatever this lawsuit is. I have a theory as to why they're doing what they're doing, and this stupid attorney general who has brought this gigantic shitstorm on a guy he's leaving office in a month and a half, and he's brought it down on whoever the guy coming in next is going to be. But I have a theory. So before we get started on what my theory is, because it's usually going to be positive and peppy, let's get started with the guy who's going to tell us all that this is the worst thing that could possibly happen, my friend Jesse Martin.
Yes, this is absolutely the worst thing that could have possibly fucking happened to our fan base.
There we go.
Dan Snyder's got one fucking foot out of the door right now, and this jerk off comes on his way out of the door, out of office in like 3 freaking weeks. This dude is coming and making a grandiose scene and just saying, fuck you. And now they've put both the NFL and Dan Snyder back into a foxhole together. And
this is where we start to vector off.
It's stupid. I don't get it whatsoever. Why do that? If we don't really promote podcasts, other podcasts on the show. I mean, we love.
We have our friends on.
our friends. I'm talking about the media wise.
Oh no, fuck them.
Kevin Sheehan,
John Keim. We like
and
those
John
guys.
Keim. Kevin Sheehan had in his podcast, not on his radio show. We all know Thom Lavero, and he has a
Thom.
Yeah, he has another guest that comes on once in a while, a former ambassador of the United States
to
Howard
Bulgaria.
Gutman.
Howard
to Bulgaria, yeah.
Right.
Howard Gutman, very smart
The only
guy.
reason that Howard Gutman was the ambassador to Bulgaria is because Bobby Anal was not ready. So they sent Howard Gutman. They left Jimmy Sphincter at home. Harry Sphincter, sorry.
John is finding every way to just make me cringe.
Oh, no, I didn't see that. You spent the whole week with coughing diarrhea, which means, oh, damn, I got to get up again.
But so to make a long point short, I highly suggest you guys, anybody listening, to go listen to that podcast. And Howard Gutman, former lawyer. Oh, actually, he's not a former lawyer. He is a lawyer.
He's a lawyer. He's a graduate.
Kind of explained it and kind of dumbed it down for us literate folks to kind of understand exactly why this was a bad move. I mean, we learned absolutely zero new, nothing new. Everything that Home Dude said is exactly what we've already know.
Well, yeah, here's the thing. They're trying to go after it through a consumer protection thing, okay?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I listened to, because I listened to Howard Gutman today on the Al Galdi podcast. My God, this dude's just all over the place with his
Belgium. Yeah, it's Belgium.
What's
Ty, you're right.
Going on with Al Galdi? Has somebody got his balls in a vice? Because every show, up and down and up and down. It's getting old. But this Howard
I don't know
Gutman,
if John's impressions are any good because I have no idea who he's even talking about.
Go listen to him once. You'll see what I mean. I like Al Galdi, but
I'm like Chris.
dude.
I don't listen to other podcasts. Like the Bleeding Burgundy is all I need, baby.
Well, that's why when we get to talking about things like, obscure stuff like the offensive line, you go, fuck if I know. Does he throw the ball? All right. So anyway, this guy Howard Gutman, by the way, he's another one. It's got just the awfulest voice. He's got a terrible voice. But listening to him, he's just theorizing too. He's guessing. And what my guess is, you bring the NFL into this, and he's coming at it through a consumer protection angle, which means that anybody for the residents of the District of Columbia, which is not me or you, just the residents of the District of Columbia, which means anybody who bought tickets to a Commanders game in the District of Columbia, this is for them. But what if you bought tickets like LJ? She lives out in the Midwest. What if she bought tickets from a ticket vendor? She was online in St. Louis. Or what if I'm online when I'm in an airplane over Utah? So now it branches out. He says this doesn't make any sense, which is 100% fucking true. It's just way too broad reaching. However, what it might do, because see, I'm of the thinking, nothing happens in a vacuum, nothing whatsoever. This guy on his way out, he needs a job. The NFL says, we want this guy out of here. They've got the 24 votes. They already sent Junkie McPillpopper out there to say his piece, Irsay. So the die is cast. So what they do is they go, we need a way out of this. So they say, why don't you name us in the suit? And then we'll make a deal with you and hand him up on a silver platter. We'll force him out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man.
It's a long way to go.
That seems like it's a stretch.
Hey,
because he was already out. He was already out. I just think it was an AG that's way overstepped his bounds. He's just grandstanding, trying to do something on his way out, and what he's doing, he's hurt the hundreds of thousands of fans that actually want Dan Snyder out. And if you want to call the NFL into it, the best thing that can happen, and this is crappy to the actual victims that Dan Snyder and this organization has victimized over the years, is for them to dismiss this case, which is a chance,
very real possibility.
Yeah. But in doing so, you've hurt those 40 plus victims that are, the cheerleaders and ex-female employees to the team. I don't think this is going to go anywhere. If it does it's going to be long and drawn out. And if Dan Snyder were to sell, because this lawsuit has the Commander's name on it, so whoever the new owner is going to have to deal with that as well. So Dan Snyder, being the vindictive little shit that he is, I had a good conversation with Brandon with Rant on Burgundy on Twitter today about Dan Snyder can just dig his heels in and say, you know what, his family wanted him to sell.
I always wondered what would happen if you two went toe to toe on a subject.
What,
me and Jesse?
and Rant?
No,
Or you and Rant?
Me and Rant? Oh no,
yeah.
we were on the same side. Yeah, we were on the same.
No, I know. It's just you two both have very strong personalities when it comes to opinions.
That's kind of true. Yeah. That's
but both of you kind of think the same way because I've known Brandon for a long time. Good guy.
Yeah.
The question
I like Brandon.
is, does Brandon get picked on his birthday?
Are kind of on the same wavelength. And what we feel is because Dan Snyder's a vindictive little twerp. You know, what if it was his family that caused him to flip-flop, saying, you know what, hey, Dan, it's time to sell. Tanya was, being booed, and we're tired of being in this spotlight. And then now that this is going on, well, we're going to be in the spotlight anyway, so why don't we just keep the team for another couple of years while we go through this ordeal with the lawsuit? If this lawsuit stays a lawsuit, if a judge doesn't throw it out, that could derail everything that everybody's worked for.
That could be the end game too. I mean, well, for one, I don't think anybody's end game is to get Dan to keep the team, and I don't think that this would force him to keep. Vindictive or not, I mean, it's one thing to say, "Oh, I like being hated," but do you like really just being hated that much that you would turn around and do that? Because really, at that point,
this is Dan Snyder we're talking about, guys.
I get it. But Dan Snyder has always stood back and tried to say that he's a friend of the fans. He's always stood back and tried to say we're giving you the best, or his people. Once he does something like that, no, it's all good. Everything is adversarial at that point. And
he put out that God, the disgusting tweet, and this is Dan Snyder, and everybody's talking about that's him. Everybody's talking about how could they do that? How could Jason Wright? How could Jason Wright let this happen?
Jason don't have to.
You don't. Dan Snyder does what Dan Snyder wants to do. There is not a person in that organization that is. If Dan wants to do something, he's going to. That was a Dan Snyder press release.
It was a smear.
Period.
I mean, it was a shot right across the bow of the AG trying to do this stupid
and
shit.
Jason had to come in and clean it up.
Yeah.
Well, you see that shit on Twitter all the time when somebody says, hey, this person over here is breaking the law. And some other idiot goes, well, why don't you focus on this person breaking the law? As if none of us are smart enough to think about two things at the same fucking time. So that's what Dan tried to do right there. And that is definitely Dan. And they tried to point at his lawyer and say, no, this came from our outside counsel, who does nothing without the stamp of approval from Dan. You can bet that because he's on a nice fat retainer that he wants to keep. Right. So that came directly from Dan. And I know it's going to hurt everybody's feelings when I say this, but if it came from Dan, that means it came from Tanya too. And I really don't think that people booing Tanya on the goddamn screen really bothered her that much, because she went right the fuck on home and laid down on her big giant bed full of money and said, fuck all those peasants. So maybe. I don't see how keeping the team really does any good for them, even if it's just to be vindictive, because at that point,
the team
we're all going over to their
good
house.
In 23 years. I mean, there hasn't been anything good.
Well, I know, but he could at least try to say every year, we're trying. And every year up until now, we bought into it. Yeah, we're trying. But if he does something like that, you ain't doing nothing but trying to hurt us, you cocksucker. And now we're showing up to the house with pitchforks and torches. We're going to chase you into the hills like Frankenstein's monster. Yeah, I didn't say that quite right.
Keith, what do you got to say on the subject?
What do you have to say, Keith?
You've been quiet.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say. I agree with what you guys are saying in the sense. I will say this, just as a husband, as a father, how is this fun for him?
Exactly.
Let's put everything aside for a moment. And if you really just take a look at it, how is this fun for him anymore? This is largely becoming an egotistical thing that if this were me, I'm not putting my wife and kids through this. It's time to let go.
If it was you, I would agree. But the things that Dan Snyder has done, I can't trust. I'm not going to stake, my fandom on, I'm not, put it to you this way, until that ink is dry and he has signed on the dotted line, I
agree with
am
that.
not going to give a sigh of relief. I'm not going to believe anything
I agree
that
with
this
that.
team is going to change. I'm just not doing it.
I do agree with Keith. And what does he get out of this? I mean, the fact of the matter is this.
I get it. Yeah, I agree too. What does he get out of this?
I mean, it's gotten to the point
not going to win with him
and sell the team at a game. I mean,
no, not only that, but you've got Benjamin St. Just in the media now, and you've got Taylor Charles Leno. And look, dude, Dan Snyder, I know you listen to this fucking show, and I know you're looking at me right now. Now you have distracted your team. You have done the ultimate worst thing you can do. And I mean, you've always distracted your team with your bullshit, but never directly like this. And now they all have to sit in the locker room and answer questions about you when they got a big game against an undefeated division rival coming up. Way to go, dickhead. So for them, the money's on the table. We're talking $7 billion to buy this team, right? So if they use this lawsuit to somehow squeeze him, if the NFL makes a deal behind him and says, okay, we're squeezing, and then they can sort of handpick their owner to come in and be able to facilitate a sale, for him, it's gravy. I mean, I guess if I'm that much of an asshole, I can see the joy in just sitting up there in your stadium box, laughing at all the peasants down below you. But soon enough, man, it's going to be empty. There's not going to be any peasants down there that are willing to talk to you. This will be like the straw that broke the camel's back for so many fans if he does something like that. I think the sale's inevitable.
I wish I could wholeheartedly believe you. I mean, if I had to put money on it, I would think he's selling. But I can't fully buy in. I can't fully buy in yet because this is not a normal human being we're talking about here. This is
he is a shrimpy little twerp. That's right.
It's
sorry for all the Snyder little people out there.
I would never expect him to put out a tweet or put out a press release like he did. Using a player as try to shield and
see.
deflect.
I would. He's a scumbag. And I think he's got his back up against the wall.
I still think he could sink probably lower, and he could be like, well, you know what? Fuck y'all. I'm not gonna fucking sell the team. I'm gonna ride this shit out and force Goodell and the rest of the NFL to go through this lawsuit with him. But I will.
That's when I think they'll hang him out to dry. Goodell, they'll hang him out to dry.
Well, the NFL made a mistake by not releasing that report. The NFL is culpable in this whole ordeal as well because they fucked up letting the goddamn team investigate itself and then not releasing the report and they
gave him veto power over what could be released.
Yes.
Remember that?
What? They deserve a lot of culpability in this whole fucking thing, man.
See, though, I think that's their back door. I think that they can go to this guy, the AG, whatever, Racine, and I think they can say, okay, look, we'll give you the report. You take our names off of this, and we'll hang them out to dry. Everybody gets what they want.
I just feel sorry for the women involved in this, and I just don't think they're going to get their pound of flesh. I mean, hopefully, if he sells the team, that's good enough for them. But I think they deserve.
I think ultimately that's what they want. And my personal opinion, I think this has gone further than any of us had expected. It is catching and being talked about, in national media as well. So I think this is the start to the end, but you're going to run into doubters, like yourself, Jesse. You're going to run into doubters until it actually happens. I mean, we're talking over 25 years of this. And, it's weird because this doesn't, an owner selling a team doesn't happen every day. Right. So, we're the fans are kind of left in limbo. Like, typically if he does leave, yes, we're all happy, but I'm actually looking for, well, what's going to happen with us, in the future on who buys the team, how much involved are they going to be, or is this going to be just investors? I mean, things are changing, things are just different. These, a lot of these NFL teams were owned by families, and now investors are coming in, and I just don't want the heart, and I'm not saying Dan Snyder is by any means, I just don't want the heart of this team to be an investor who never really cared about the actual team. They only care about the money.
Well,
with that, hold on. With that being said, though, I also understand Dan says that he's a fan, but through the years, I kind of feel like things have changed, and it was no longer about being a fan, and it was more about the money, and it was more about the ego, and more of, let me show you how much power I have.
He wanted to be in the club, and
right.
he was in the club. There's only 32 of them, man, in the world.
Rich people love to know how to make more money.
Well, their money makes more money,
and he figured out how to do that.
The NFL can print money.
He bought this team for $800 million. It's now worth, $5.5 billion. Well, it's not worth $7 billion. That's what it sells for. That's what it's worth. Sells for.
Yeah, I think it's worth 5.3.
Right. That's my house, my house, is worth $350K, but it doesn't mean that I paid that. I'm just saying, ultimately overall, I'm just interested to know what the future is. I'm kind of thinking past Dan Snyder at this point, because I feel like we're at the point where all we're doing is just running circles. We really have no control over anything. I'm more concerned about the team's future if he does sign the papers, and we do have new ownership.
Well, we do have something new for you, everybody, today, and he's just now gotten in here. It is our international correspondent, Scott Hartley. He is going to be doing something brand new for us now that Keith is back in the building. He's going to be going around to various stadiums. He's going to give us a Bleeding Burgundy report. He is going to be our roving reporter. And so let me go ahead and bring him in here. Scotty,
it's live?
Yeah.
Bollocks.
All right, Scotty, we see you there. You're at the airfield. You're getting ready to take off and head for Philadelphia.
Yeah, all right, gents. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm excited, as you can see. I've got this wreck of a jet behind me.
Keith, sorry, sir, but that is a propeller plane.
Well, I thought you were supposed to sort this out, Keith. Where's the expenses?
Yeah, he's in charge of finances.
We've got an Amex card that's prepaid. I can't even get a sandwich on here. I'm sat at Walney Airfield, supposedly flying to Philadelphia, and I've got this in front of me. I mean,
the good
what
news,
has it come to?
Well, I'll tell you what, Scott. That is grade A Soviet era surplus aircraft that Keith found for us. It was not bad. We got it at a yard sale last week. So if you have any issues with your service on the flight, make sure you get with the Bleeding Burgundy podcast HR office. You will be flying as soon as your flight starts north, I believe, up into the North Sea, north of Scotland, where you'll be landing on the island of Orkney on Anus, where you will then get on to the fishing trawler Harry Gladys, and that will take you to Greenland.
Yeah, they've said I'll get there by Sunday, apparently. But, I mean, there's
no
nobody else turned up for this flight, just me. And there's a guy just to the right-hand side who looks like a tramp having a cigarette on the side of the runway.
That's your pilot right there.
That's Captain Gustavio. He'll be ready to fly here shortly.
Hold on a second. I'm getting some.
All right.
No, I've told you before. I don't want any peanuts on the flight. I'm allergic.
No. He wasn't asking about peanuts. It's a language thing, Scott. He said he had something else completely different in mind. I think he realizes it's going to be a long, cold flight. I would recommend to you this, sir. Buckle in. The landing down on Orkney and Pie is going to be a little. Is that what I said before? I don't even know. But you're going to land there, and it's going to be a bit rough. Once you get on the Harry Agnes, then the seas should be a little bit smoother until you get over to Greenland. At that point, you'll catch a dog sled on down to Nova Scotia, and from there, it's easy. From there,
Now, before we let you go, Scott, why don't you give us your thoughts on the Dan Snyder ordeal?
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've done some live reporting here, and it looks like the AG's hairs fell off with his grey hair there. I mean, who is he? I queued less waiting for the Queen, than waiting for his press conference. I mean, honestly, he just, 15 minutes, keep the world waiting for what is really just a bluff and bluster. I mean, I get it. He wants restitution, and I wholeheartedly agree that the Beth Wilkinson report should have been submitted and in writing rather than verbally. But it's like saying, hey, you lied, Scott. Did I? Prove it.
I don't know. Did you?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, where's the restitutions going to? It looks like it's for DC residents, which, and to me, it looks like it's a cash grab by an outgoing attorney general.
Yeah,
I don't know that anybody's going to see a dime of it, though.
I think you're right there. But keeping the people waiting. That's what we do.
Yeah, I think this lands on a judge's desk. Is like, excuse me, what? They're going to see all these powerful lawyers from the NFL, Dan Snyder's lawyers. But listen, dismiss this, and it was all for nothing.
Right now, he's
it
not.
It looks like they're
another
starting up now. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, you've got to get out there before the storms hit. But once this thing gets up in the wind, I've from Captain Gustavio has told me that it doesn't really perform very well.
I've got a interview lined up with Jalen Hurts for Monday, just before kickoff. So hopefully I'll get outside the stadium and we'll report back in. But
sounds good.
Looks like this guy's drunk. Is he having a piss?
Well, yeah, he's probably lubricating the flaps.
Well, that's what you call it. Yeah,
I think that's probably what he's doing. All right, well, you
boys, I'm really not happy with this.
Well,
no, I'm not happy with this at all.
I
Keith,
promise you're going to be
sort
okay.
This out. You've got to sort this out.
I got you.
It's going nowhere.
I got it. We'll work on this. We'll get this fixed.
Keith forgot to put the deposit on the American Express prepaid card.
We'll get with the finance department.
I mean, I thought you'd be all right with the dog sled to Greenland.
Well, they keep asking me if I want peanuts. I'm allergic. I've told them I'm not eating ramen noodles either. That's just it's a transatlantic flight.
I might say go ahead with the ramen. There's no heat on that plane.
Thanks for that. Cheers, boys. I appreciate you checking in with me anyway.
All right, have a safe flight. Remember, that is rated for a water landing if necessary. Just hold on to your ass. We should be good to go. We'll see you on. We'll see you tomorrow. From what I understand, while you're on board the tuna fleet ship, the Harry Agnes, you're going to talk to us about some NFL football.
Harry Agnes, I can't with you people.
Hey, I don't name these ships. You're talking about Scottish tuna fishermen.
Boaty McBoatface.
Right. Scottish fishermen. Harry Agnes is one of the most popular women in Pontoonville. Well, Scott, anyway. Have a safe fight.
All right. Cheers, gents. Take care. And thanks for the money, Keith. Appreciate it.
I got you.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Scott Hartley. Let me pull us back into where we're supposed to be. There we go. Hey, wow, everybody. The kaleidoscopic Bleeding Burgundy.
Hey, finally Jesse's on the bottom. I got ridiculed from someone on Twitter. It's like, why are you always on the bottom?
Oh, what happened?
Oh, there I go.
There's a reason for it.
Well, I like the bottom, buddy.
There you go. How about that? Now we can see what Keith looks like with his glasses on. Look, this is how he is at work. I think that we should really make sure there's the hypotenuse at the bottom line.
Oh my god, that's so accurate too.
Right, I made up a bunch of bullshit. That's mostly what corporate America does when the Zoom call comes around to them. Well, gee, Chief, I think that whatever you said sounds great. So
that's so accurate.
All right, so let's see. We're not going to really talk too much about the football game because we got Monday coming up, and we're all going to get together on Monday while y'all are tailgating, getting ready for the football game to tell you how badly we think that the Commanders are going to get beat. I don't know about you, but I feel all right this weekend because there is no hope. I don't feel I don't feel like trepidatious, like, oh, if this happens or that, they're going to beat the shit out of us. It's not even going to be cute. So whatever, right? Yeah. What do you think, Keith? You think we got a chance?
No. No.
How about you, Jesse?
Nope.
No, I don't think so either. I think that we have a better chance of winning this game than Scott does of getting to Orkney on pie in one piece. So. Remember, Scott, your seat is a flotation device.
I mean, we can later on talk about how we can try, but I don't think.
I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more of that on Monday. But
absolutely,
look, well, we will. John Doxson is back.
Doxson. He's this big, and he's like a sausage. He's like that long.
He looks like he's going to be a go. I think I saw a report today, or Jack Del Rio at a press conference, and they're not. Chase isn't up to full speed quite yet, and they're not going to rush him. I'm okay with that. I'm okay if he does not play this game.
I'm fine with that.
Let him come back ready to go versus the Texans, and maybe shorten Davis Mills' neck a little bit.
If you're going to wring a neck, you might as well go for the big one.
Yeah. So, I think Cole Holcomb is still a little bit hobbled. I think he was limited today. If I read it, I'm not sure if I'm remembering
I'd be
that
surprised
correctly.
if he played.
But we should definitely not go into this game expecting a miracle. Unless Taylor Heineke turns into Brett Favre.
I wouldn't be
for
shocked
1
though
week.
if we pulled it off.
Yes, you
I
would.
mean, is it
you would.
impossible? No. I mean, Montez Sweat could, accidentally roll up on Jalen Hurts' knee in the first quarter, and you just don't fucking know how that works. But
That's what I'm saying.
the fact of the matter is,
you gotta hope for like 15 injuries, but anything can happen.
yeah.
Hey, you know what? It wouldn't be the last time it happened up in Philadelphia on a Monday
That is
night.
true.
We just got to
That
change
is
You know
it
what?
back
But
around.
those fools always still seem to find a way to win. I mean, how do you lose 8 quarterbacks in one game and still win? It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll
Anyways,
tell you what.
moving
Right
on.
now, if you look at Jalen Hurts' numbers, that guy is playing amazing good football. All right.
Yeah.
Aside from running around and getting outside the pocket, make things happen that way, he's got like something like a 78% completion percentage from inside the pocket. The dude's freaking laser accurate. I know Jesse don't like him. Look, he's got that face on that says, "I'm just putting up with your nonsense for a moment." And then I'll set you straight.
you're absolutely right. And
He's
I
playing
think
great.
Another thing that's helped Philadelphia is they are the least injured team in the entire league, man.
Big time factor.
They are extremely healthy. Their offensive line has stayed intact the entire year. Their defense is really good. I think they have one big time player that's out. That's their rookie, Jordan, the defensive tackle. Yeah. The Texans, though, and I'm sure we're going to get more involved in this game next week, too. I think we're going to go through some midseason superlatives. But the Texans played them pretty tough. They ran the ball 47 times and only passed it, I think, 12 times the entire game. And they made it a game. I mean, if we can play some good defense and limit the run and we're the number one defense against the run in the entire league right now.
Yeah.
So if we can limit that and try to limit Devontae Smith and
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown, who the fuck knows what happens? But our offense is not.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I said last week, if we can hold them to 24 points, then we can talk about a miracle. But that's the first thing that has to happen. You got to keep them down.
And I think we can actually
AJ Brown
hold,
is as hot as anybody in the league.
I think we can actually hold them, to be honest. What bothers me, which is what I've been saying all season, is our offense just can't score points.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we hold them to 0 points in the second half of the game, but we are a different team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, than we played in week 3, week 4.
I think they also took their foot off the gas.
Possibly, maybe.
I always think people with that ringtone are just dorks. I always go, Jesus, who didn't bother to change that shit from their phone?
That's the phone I never bring with me. That's the work phone.
I don't blame you. It's got a lousy ringtone.
So y'all want to go through like MVPs, offense, defense, and
we could give a little bit of some mid-season grades here. I think no grades really, but just some quick things. So why don't we start with you, Keith? Who's your see? I could do that. I could put him right on the spot while he's all full of freaking medications, and say, "Here's something that we didn't even tell you we were going to do this week, Keith." No, we let you think right off the bat. So, Jesse, who's your offensive MVP to this point so far?
That's kind of tough to boil down, man.
This is like the thing on the game show when they ask a question and it's a canned response that they've rehearsed. Oh, gee, that's a tough one.
Well, I mean, because there's no clear standout. I mean, he could take the easy way out and say Terry McLaurin, but I think Curtis Samuel has been.
I was just about to say I'm gonna go off the beaten path a little bit, and I'm gonna say Curtis Samuel, man. I think he's been involved in pretty much every single game and played an important role. And I kind of wish they would get him the ball a little bit more. He's been a factor in the run game. He's been a factor in the screen game. And he's been a factor in, hey, ref, why don't you pick that safety real quick?
Into the safety, if you don't mind.
So in the long game. So I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say Curtis Samuel.
So that was going to be my number one choice. I mean, I'd love to say Terry. I think we all would. I mean, fans in the stadium chanting the man's name is, tells you everything that you need to know. But without taking the easy way out. And don't get me wrong, I love a good wide receiver that makes big plays, gets up and talks his shit. right? I love that. But Curtis Samuel, some of these plays that he's made are absolutely fucking sick. Like you just
an important time.
Little changes of directions where he just
the
drops
change
these
of direction with his feet is just unbelievable. The moves that he makes, the guy is proving that he was worth waiting for when he was injured.
Sure.
And he's still healthy. He's playing. He still makes big plays. Love the guy.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take the easy route, and I will say it's Terry McLaurin. Aside from the fact that, he's our favorite player, everybody's favorite player, and he's a big, time spark plug, he has been instrumental. All right. Yes, I agree. Samuel's made a lot of big plays, but when they've needed something, when they rely on something, they go looking at Terry, and he has responded. And that's the thing. That's the whole key right there. You can say, okay, you're our number one, but the dude better go out and do it. And Terry has gone out and done it. So for me on offense, he is my first half of the season MVP.
Another shout out can go to Antonio Gibson, man, and he's made some big time plays, not only from the backfield but out in receiving too, and he stepped up and had some big kick returns as well. So I think you can make an argument for Antonio Gibson as well.
Yes, you can. All right, so then Keith, what about your offensive head smacker for the season, for the first part of the year?
Ooh, a head smacker, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, smack this dude upside the head. Who is your offensive head smacker?
Jesse, if you have one, go ahead of me. Let him.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go with the quarterbacks. I mean, just throw the ball on target. This is both of them now. Just hit your guy, throw it on target for once in a while. Let's help this offense get it going.
He's like, I got one.
Well, and I agree with Jesse 100%, but I always feel like going first and then going that route, it just sucks to go the easy route. But I completely agree. I'm sadly going to have to say Brian Robinson. I need more than under 3 yards to carry.
Yeah, and it's not even 3 yards to carry right
That's
now.
what I mean. That's why I said under 3 yards to carry.
Yeah,
I definitely understand where you're coming from. I don't think the offensive line helps too much, but I do like. I think I talked about Antonio Gibson. I think what Brian Robinson does helps loosen up this team for Antonio Gibson. I'm not. I see a lot of people down on Robinson. Yeah, I would love him to, get more than 3 yards of rush.
I think he's the type of runner
coming off of a shooting for Pete's sake.
I think he's also the type of runner that needs that big offensive line in order for him to be.
Yeah, I definitely.
He's not a dancing runner like Antonio Gibson is. He doesn't change direction.
He's not as powerful as I expected.
He's a one cut
guy. He's up high.
I think. I don't think we've seen the best of Brian Robinson,
but I think we will, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. That's not a bad choice. I'm going to go ahead and call the obvious and call that our two offensive guards that we brought in the offseason, Norwell and Turner, they are fucking god awful.
And if we had better guards, Robinson would be playing better.
And so with our quarterbacks, everybody would be playing better. And that's why I say literally we could do better with a sack of flour and a traffic cone. And
I'm waiting for them to play Chris Paul, man. I've heard some really good things about him. I'm hoping we get to see him soon.
I talked about that with somebody this week. I can't remember what his name is. I know who he is. It might.
I think I heard of John Kine.
Might have been Iron Rant that I was talking to. I think I heard. Well, what makes you think that he's any good? And I'm like, I don't know if he's any good. They said he was okay. They haven't cut him. So at this point, what do we lose? What do we lose putting him in there? It's not like it's any good right now.
I think it was Kime's podcast. It was recent, very recent.
He's been
they were talking about. Yeah, they were talking about Chris Paul, and he actually talked to players about Chris Paul, and the players told him that he is strong and he's got great hands. So hopefully, let's put him in there. Let's see what he's got.
That's what I want to see. And also, I'm going to go ahead and get to Scott Turner. I know we argued about it last week, and we're going to argue about it till he gets any better, because I have just not been impressed, and I don't care whether he's got a quarterback or not. I don't think he does anything to help his quarterback be any better, knowing what his limitations are. So that's the way I see it. All right. So what about defensive MVP for the first half of the season? Jesse.
You got to go with John Allen. This is the obvious. I saw the PFF put out mid-season all-pro players or MVPs for each position. and John Allen wasn't on there, and that was a travesty.
It is.
This guy is playing better than Chris Jones, than Aaron Donald, than anybody. He's the fucking man. He is better than all those this year. He is the best defensive tackle in the league. And
I asked it. Yep, I asked it earlier in the week. Why isn't he an All-Pro? Tell me why. Nobody really could give me a good reason as to why, except one guy said sacks. Well, whatever.
He's got 4.5. Interior defensive linemen don't get that many sacks, and it's not even. It's only halfway through the season.
Look, the interior defensive line is expected to chase that guy out of there and let the defensive end get the sack, or get a linebacker to get a sack, or at least bust up the play, and he does that just fine. I did see a play on. Somebody had some highlights up. Might have been Mark Tyler. Dude, of a pass rush last week where Montez Sweat came lancing in, and dude, the center and guard got in front of him.
Well, I think that was Mark Bullock.
It was Bullock, yeah. And Sweat busted through them like the Kool-Aid man. Boom! They both went flying in opposite ways. I was like, holy my God, it looked like a freaking thing out of a comic book.
All right. It's speaking of upon the defensive line, man. We don't have one person that's like outrageous in sacks like a lot of teams do. But the fact of the matter is we are still a great pass rush team. And somehow we gotta figure out how to keep all these guys on the field. Yeah.
Well, we got to keep Daron Payne. And I think that, this week we've got to go after Hurts. They've got to keep him hemmed in. I don't know how they're going to do that. All right, Keith, who is your defensive MVP for the first half of the season?
Yeah, you just said his name. Daron Payne can get my love.
Animal. He's an animal.
He is just a beast. I always say the Thing from the Fantastic Four. It's clobbering time. He's the Thing as far as I'm concerned. Big, rocky, beastly, smash, crush.
Funny, I watched that earlier today.
What, the Fantastic Four?
I did, yeah. In fact, you guys were doing your 2:00 review, and I just was falling out sleeping. But yeah, I was watching
the movie or the cartoons.
The movie, not the cartoon.
The movie. You know what? Some guy who was in that movie just perked his ears up and went, "There he is. There's the guy who watched our movie."
You're so stupid.
So was that movie. God,
it was.
I love dude. I'm a comic book head. I really am. So I love comics, and I've been waiting for them to.
Silver Surfer was on it,
dude. See, now that one, I liked the Silver Surfer. The surfer in there was cool. They made him look really cool, especially when he's floating through the freaking tunnel, going up and down over top and under his board. That was pretty cool. I thought they did a good job with him. But
I started watching the Star Wars Episode 1.
You have not watched Star Wars at all?
I have watched it all, but I'm starting over.
You got to watch
because I'm a nerd.
I didn't realize you were a fan.
Yeah. You got to watch the Clone Wars, and you got to watch what's the hell, Rebels, the animated.
Yeah, I haven't watched. I'm not big into animation,
dude. They're awesome.
I'm not either, but Clone Wars.
I keep telling you,
the movie or the series.
The series.
The series.
It starts off.
Clone Wars holds value to what I think.
Well, they have the essentials.
Creating movies.
Yeah,
it ties a lot of the movies together. Like
on the Disney app, Disney Plus app, they have the essential episodes for.
Well, and that's what I was going to say too. As you see, what they're doing now is they're doing a lot of spinoffs, and the spinoffs are telling the stories. And Clone Wars is involved in some of that. And
I'm up to date on.
I have a feeling that
this conversation just went from football to Star Wars. And
it's okay. People can.
I have a feeling that we're going to see a Darth Maul series on Disney Plus, and we need to.
Yeah.
When you watch the Clone Wars, when they get to Darth Maul, like I said, the first 2 seasons you'll think, this is for kids. By season 3, no, this isn't really for kids anymore. By season
it gets dark.
4, when they get to Darth Maul, this is not for children at all. The first time you see him and they take you down into this dungeon where he is, holy shit! It's like
but the story holds into the timeline,
and it's very cool.
So it's actually important to know. But anyways, carry on, gentlemen.
Yeah. All right. So the defensive MVP of the season for thus far, Keith, for you, who was that? Darth Maul? Oh, you said
no. He said Daron Payne.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to have to say, and I'm going to hope that people will listen to me say this.
Wild goose.
No, but I hope they're going to listen to me say this and realize that I am capable of actually looking at new information and forming an opinion that I might not have shared earlier. And I'm going to have to say at this point, it's Cole Holcomb. And he's stepped up. He's done. Yes, I know. He's
Hell has definitely frozen over.
Yeah.
It's Jonathan Allen, but you've already spoken about him. But Cole Holcomb deserves, I think, some credit because even though he's still a liability in coverage, once they got rid of Jackson, and I don't think that Holcomb was so much a problem of Jackson, but that changed everything. And his play has skyrocketed as far as I'm concerned.
Jackson, by getting rid of Jackson, you actually helped half the or at least
you can see
a third of the field. And because especially playing zone, even though we do play a lot more man than people would think, but getting rid of him, of that liability, has freed up, I think, everybody else, including Jamin Davis and including Cole Holcomb.
I would also give a nice to Benjamin St. Just for number one, A, saying the truth about Dan Snyder, and B, dude, we saw all last year were terrible on third downs. These outside wide receivers are toasting us for 10, 12-yard gains whenever they wanted one, right? St. Just has taken that number one wide receiver practically out of the game. Out of the game. We said last week that Jefferson got 100-odd yards, and yes, he did. But after that first drive where he scored the touchdown, those yards were spread out, and they really were meaningless.
Yeah,
they really were.
And a shout out goes to there's two things that kind of turned this defense around. I think from after the Detroit game or the second half of the Philadelphia game. One was the benching of William Jackson III, and two, if y'all remember, Cam Curl was not on the field in the first 2 weeks of the
that
season.
green dot. I think they should keep it on his head.
Has really been. You haven't heard his name called because when he's covering, no one's throwing in that direction because he's all over it.
That tackle that he made of Madison down around the 4-yard line last week was
doesn't get better.
The hell down. Just get on the ground.
WWE type of
it doesn't get better than that.
That was terrific.
So he definitely deserves a hat tip.
Beast.
Yeah, he definitely deserves a hat tip and to be spoken about because he is definitely a pivotal player on this defense.
All right, so your defensive get out of here, boy. Who's your defensive head smack? I think it's the same guy for all three of us. Go ahead. Who do you think?
I mean, either you go William Jackson III, but he's not here no more, so then you have to go Fuller.
No, I think you go William Jackson III because once they got rid of him, everybody got better. I think it was clearing off.
But I still think Fuller's probably the weak link, maybe Wild Goose, but Wild Goose is actually
he's playing all right.
Yeah, he's
Fuller played well last week.
Ball.
So we're not gonna give any shadows on Fuller. We're gonna hope he keeps that going. All right. So, do we have anything left? Do we have anybody else that we want to attack? Do we have anybody else we want to go ahead and?
I'll give a hat tip to Jack Del Rio as well.
Yeah.
Wrong one. There you go, Jack.
He is with what he has to work with, especially with the injury in the middle of the field with Cole Holcomb. I think he's done an excellent job in galvanizing this defense and having them play for the team instead of for each other. But yeah,
I also think that he's coaching up Jamin Davis, and I've just seen heavy improvements. I think Jack Del Rio is doing a pretty good job with this defense, considering what he has to work with. And
he's definitely galvanized Jamin Davis.
I feel like
the hell you said.
And let's say a lot of people were, took what was going on with Jamin earlier in the season as criticism, but sometimes, I don't see anything wrong with coaches trying to motivate their players like that. I don't think Jamin Davis took it personally. I think Jamin Davis said, you know what, I'm going to take what coach said and I'm going to improve.
Sometimes
he did. I think he did take it personally because he did. He put out a tweet and had to delete it, or it was an Instagram. And
I think
he had to delete
anytime
it
somebody criticizes your work, you take it personally.
But I think that he took the mature approach by deleting it and saying, you know what, I'm going to put this energy out on the field, and it's showing that he's improved.
He responded, and I think he responded positively, and I think that's a credit to Jack Del Rio as well because I don't think that he did that lightly. I don't think he went overboard. I think a lot of people go way. Social media has turned people into such fucking pansies that, oh my God, he said something that wasn't 100% glowing about him. How dare he call him out in public? He said, I think we'd like to see him play a little better. You fucking pansies. Honest to God, if that's what you consider criticism, how do you get out of bed in the morning? How is it that you get out of bed and work through the whole day in your life every day?
I agree. And I think we can all agree that we weren't, pleased with Jack Del Rio's, defense in the beginning of the season for the most part.
I've been calling for his head.
Right. But this guy is showing that he does have the ability to make the best out of the guys that are on this field. So I think it.
Getting rid of Sam Mills was huge. Jeff Scanina has done a great job with that defensive line. Ryan Kerrigan's done a great job with that defensive line.
And all those people, Brian fucking Mitchell, what does changing the coach have to do? That's a scapegoat. Sorry, buddy, but you were fucking wrong. It had a lot to do with it, and that defensive line is fucking playing awesome.
Understand, Mr. Mitchell, that if your ratings tank, they don't fire your fucking marketing agent. They fire you. That's right. So, and I agree. And we see the results, man. They're playing like the unit that we've expected them to play like. I think
he made a real big deal out of that too, man. It kind of pissed me off.
I think I heard Kime was talking to somebody last week.
I think he was trying to put race into it, and there's a bunch of awful racist crap already. I thought that was a low, cheap blow to the organization.
I think it was Jay Gruden last week was on with John Kime and all these people that are whining, why is Jay Gruden on everything? Look, I hate to tell you this, but other than Norv Turner, we have not had a coach that lasted as long as Jay Gruden.
That is true.
Right?
I like listening to Jay. He's very smart. Especially especially when it comes to offense, and he does still throws a little tidbits about how it was when he was coaching,
and he knows football.
I think Jay was just too frat boyish.
Yeah, he didn't really have
in his position, which I think kind of ruined it for him.
I'll tell you the truth. I don't think that he felt any different because he wasn't treated any different. I think that he sat there just like the players and waited for the owner and the goddamn GM to say, here's your players. These are who we're going to buy for you.
Here's your players. Here's your coaches. He couldn't even pick his own fucking defensive coordinator, man.
Right.
I mean, shit.
The whole thing was a fucking mess. So, I mean, what did he say that one day? Even though Brandon Sheriff was an all-pro eventually, he said, I needed a guy that can attack. And what did I get? I got a guard. Right? So, he was
a hard guy to trust, though.
Who? The guard?
No.
Or Jay Gruden? When you're working in that organization and you're being treated like that, why,
I look back and I agree with that statement now, but if you'd have talked to me 5, 6, 7 years ago.
I would agree with you.
What he said, what I brought him up was because in regards to the defensive line, he said that when I had him here, they weren't doing what they were supposed to do because we had Manusky here, and Manusky was having them do things like you got John Allen, you got Deron Payne, they're going in there supposed to be tying up blocks to the linebackers to make the tackles. You don't pick guys in the first round to go in there and tie up blocks, and that's basically how he said. Scanina has them attacking. They're not there to tie up blocks and let linebackers make tackles. Yeah. They're there to shed blocks and go get the fucking ball. So, there you go.
Right. We're about at our hour mark.
We are at our hour mark. Right.
I got one question for Mr. Keith.
All right.
Mr. Clout Chasing Keith. Where's your blue check mark, man? It's available.
Yeah, man.
You can go buy one.
Go buy one.
I mean, I'm surprised I haven't seen it.
First of all, I'm cheap. I'm not paying $8 a month, $96 a year.
Yeah, I'm seeing all these.
Have a check mark for what?
It's ridiculous,
Television sensation Keith Gray.
And it's all those people. Most people have it on dark mode, right? Do you have yours on dark mode?
Mine's on dark mode.
John, you have yours on dark mode? You ever see the people with the little white squigglies and the number 7s with the? You know why they do that, right?
No.
At first glance, it looks like a fucking check mark. So all these people who had them, now automatically they mysteriously have check marks. But you can actually tell which one has done it because they're news or which ones have paid for it. If you click on their profile,
you tap it. Yeah, you just
click on the check mark.
It'll tell you if they bought it.
Yeah,
or if they're actual verified. I mean, there's been a few that I've seen that magically have this check mark, and if you laugh at them, they'll tell you, "Oh, I did it because you can apparently. I guess you can get an edit button when you do that."
So what? What to worry about your edit
when
button?
You're verified. I have no idea the truth to that, but at the end of the day, for what? Who do I need to validate anything to?
Exactly.
I've been saying for the past 10 years that I've been on Twitter that I'm just a dude on a couch, man. I don't need a check mark. I don't need any of that. I am no one special, but I am a clout chaser. You're right, Jesse.
Our friend Johnny Cornwell talked about that this morning and wanted to know how everybody was reacting to this, and how how is this affecting folks? And for me,
I just think it's corny.
I think it's silly as hell.
I don't interact with people with check marks. I couldn't give a shit. I'm not a celebrity anything. I couldn't care less. The
I
people
saw
with
a check
marks
mark with 18 followers.
I think the people with check marks are people that I'm going to listen to are going to be people like Adam Schefter or somebody that's giving me news.
Yep.
All right, about sports, which is
I got Kime on.
Not someone who's pretending to do this or that they want to do this in their future.
Well, the fact of the matter is 99.999% of the people that I interact with on social media are people that are just like us, just normal folks, friends and fans, and I talk sports. I rarely talk about anything else. I'll talk about some music with some of these accounts, You know what I'm getting sick and tired of? Well, you can't say Training Day, which is the movie you think of with Denzel Washington. You know what? I don't fucking care what movies you watch with Denzel Washington. Just go watch one and shut up and stop getting these things all over my timeline. Because what happens is 100 people answer them, and then I got 100 of them running down my fucking line. I hate that shit.
I don't know. Just if anybody knows me, they know I'm cheap as shit, and I'm not paying $8 a month, $96 a year for some garbage that does nothing for me. It does nothing, none whatsoever. I didn't earn that. I'm buying it. That's stupid.
I do see that you do follow the trends. You've got you some Jeffrey Dahmer glasses there.
I do.
Those are nice.
I do. These are actually very old. Actually,
I would think so.
Should.
Dahmer was doing that stuff in the 80s.
Dude, these aren't bifocals.
I didn't say bifocals. These are bifocals. But there was a definite certain look. The serial killer wore a specific style of glasses. You can see it in all of them. Look at his. All right, look at Jeffrey Dahmer's glasses.
I used to have a pair.
Then you go look down the line.
I had a pair similar to Jesse's, where it was, black frames, dark black frames and whatever. And these are a little bit just more discreet. Is yours black, Jesse?
Well, no, they're like blue.
Okay.
Yeah.
But mine weren't these are, but mine weren't the rimless or whatever you call them. They were just, I had Grant Paulson glasses. That's why I pulled off that impression so well.
Okay. Yes, here's my eyewear.
Grant Paulson here.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to enjoy a nice juicy steak at Texas Roadhouse.
Hope you get pegged tonight.
Yeah, enjoy your pegging. That'll be fun.
More like.
Right. Well, tomorrow, dude, you got cold medicine in you. You ain't doing nothing. All right. No. So tomorrow afternoon, 4:00, Jesse and
I'm married. I don't get nothing anyways.
Hey, that's your problem. You married in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So, like I said, Jesse and our international correspondent, Scott, will probably be somewhere in Greenland on the back of a dog sled talking to us.
I love that afternoon.
Kid. He's so cool. Yeah, man.
I say kid. I don't mean that in disrespect, but I love that guy.
He's got a good sense of humor, and this bit should be kind of fun. We're going to send Scott all over the doggone place.
Happy Veterans Day, everyone. Everyone who served. Thank you for your service.
Absolutely. We're going to make Scott our own little Larry Bud Melman. I think that's what we're going to do. Okay. All right, then, everybody. Left hand up. That's going to take off, Jesse. You're going to hate it, but that's going to make it.
Bro, it already has. It's all over the news media now. They're
ridiculous.
They actually played the song in the stadium.
Ridiculous.
Did you take notice of that?
Ridiculous. All right. I'm out.
All right, guys.
Happy birthday. See you later.
Thank you.